Welcome to Lesson 23.1, Plant Systems and Their Interactions. In this lesson, we'll identify the principal organs of seed plants, explain the primary functions of the main tissue systems of seed plants, and contrast meristems and other plant tissues. Carnivorous plants live in environments where little or no nitrogen is present in the soil. The plants get nitrogen from live prey rather than from the soil, like most plants. Notice the structures on the leaves of the sundew plant, sticky tentacle-like projections that trap insects. The structure and function of plant parts are related. Cells, tissues, and organs are organized into systems that carry out the basic functions of a seed plant. Cells of a seed plant are organized into interacting tissues, organs, and systems. Seed plants have three principal organs that are linked together by systems that run the length of the plant. The leaves are the plant's main photosynthetic organs. Leaves also expose a great deal of tissue to the dryness of the air and have adaptations that protect against water loss. Adjustable pores in leaves help conserve water while letting oxygen and carbon dioxide enter and exit the leaf. The plant stem provides a support system for the plant body, a transport system that carries nutrients, and a defensive system that protects the plant against predators and disease. Stems also produce leaves and reproductive organs such as flowers. The stem's transport system contains tissues that lift water from the roots up to the leaves and carry the products of photosynthesis from the leaves back down to the roots. Roots anchor plants in the ground, holding soil in place and preventing erosion. Root systems often work with soil bacteria and fungi in mutualistic relationships that help the roots absorb water and dissolved nutrients. Roots transport these materials to the rest of the plant, store food, and hold plants upright against forces such as wind and rain. Each inset shown here is a section of the organ. Are these organ sections cross sections or long sections? These are cross sections. Each plant organ is made of the same basic tissue types, and these tissues have the same basic function in each organ. What tissue is the outermost tissue in each organ? This is the dermal tissue. Dermal tissue covers the plant. It protects the plant and interacts with the environment. How is the location of vascular tissue different in each organ? Vascular tissue is in the center of roots, forms a ring in stems, and forms a web in leaves. Dermal tissue in young plants consists of a single layer of cells called the epidermis. The outer surfaces of epidermal cells are often covered with a thick, waxy layer called the cuticle, which protects against water loss. Some epidermal cells have tiny projections known as trichomes, which help protect the leaf and may give the leaf a fuzzy appearance. In older plants, dermal tissues may be many cell layers deep and may be covered with bark. In roots, dermal tissue includes root hair cells that absorb water, passing it along to ground and vascular tissue, where it is carried to the rest of the plant. What is the function of vascular tissue? Its function is to transport water and nutrients. Vascular tissue is made of two types of tissue. Xylem and phloem consist of long, slender cells that connect almost like sections of pipe. Interactions between vascular tissues support the plant body and transport water and nutrients throughout the cell. The two types of cells that make up xylem are tracheids and vessel elements. What is the difference between these two types of cells? Tracheids are more narrow and vessel elements are shorter. Tracheids have walls between cells in a stack, and vessel elements form an open tube. All seed plants have xylem cells called tracheids that have tough cell walls that help to support the plant. As they mature, tracheids die, leaving only their cell walls. These cell walls contain lignin, a complex molecule that resists water and gives wood much of its strength. Openings in the walls connect neighboring cells and allow water to flow from cell to cell. Pits allow water to diffuse from tracheids into surrounding ground tissue. In addition to tracheids, angiosperms possess vessel elements. Vessel elements are wider than tracheids and are arranged end to end on top of one another like a stack of tin cans. After they mature and die, cell walls at both ends are left with slit-like openings through which water can move freely. In some vessel elements, the end walls disappear altogether, producing a continuous tube. The two types of cells that make up phloem are sieve tube elements and companion cells. Companion cells are much smaller and found around the outside of sieve tube cells. Sieve tube elements are similar to tracheids because they both have end walls with openings. Phloem cells are alive at maturity. The main phloem cells are sieve tube elements, which are arranged end to end, forming sieve tubes. The end walls of sieve tube elements have many small holes through which nutrients move from cell to cell. As sieve tube elements mature, they lose their nuclei and most other organelles. The remaining organelles hug the inside of the cell wall and are kept alive by companion cells. Companion cells support the phloem cells and aid of the movement of substances in and out of the phloem. Ground tissue is neither dermal nor vascular. Ground tissue produces and stores sugar and contributes to physical support of the plant. The edible portions of plants like potatoes, squash, and asparagus are mostly ground tissue. Most ground tissue consists of parenchyma. Parenchyma cells have a thin cell wall and a large central vacuole surrounded by a thin layer of cytoplasm. In leaves, these cells contain many chloroplasts and are the site of most of a plant's photosynthesis. How are collinchyma cells different from parenchyma cells? They have a thicker cell wall. Collinchyma cells have strong, flexible cell walls that help support plant organs. Chains of such cells make up the familiar strings of a stalk of celery. Sclerenchyma cells have the thickest cell walls. Sclerenchyma cells have extremely thick, rigid cell walls that make ground tissue such as seed coats tough and strong. Sclerenchyma fibers are used to make rope from hemp. How do the thin cell walls of parenchyma in leaves relate to the function of leaves? Thin cell walls allow for gas exchange and penetration of sunlight. Why might you find parenchyma in roots? The thin walls of parenchyma allow materials to pass through, allowing roots to absorb material. How do the thickness of collinchyma cells and sclerenchyma cells relate to their functions? These cells provide support and protection. Plants, unlike animals, continue growing, producing new leaves and reproductive organs even after they reach adulthood using meristems. Meristems are regions of unspecialized cells in which mitosis produces new cells that are ready for differentiation. Meristems are found in places where plants grow rapidly, such as the tips of stems and roots. The undifferentiated cells they produce are very much like the stem cells of animals. The inserts shown here are long sections showing meristem regions. The tip of a stem or root is known as its apex. The meristems in these rapidly growing regions are called apical meristems. Unspecialized cells produced in apical meristems divide rapidly as stems and roots increase in length. At first, the new cells that are pushed out of meristems look very much alike. They are unspecialized and have thin cell walls. Gradually, they develop into mature cells with specialized structures and functions. This process is called differentiation. As the cells differentiate, they produce each of the tissue systems of the plant, including dermal, vascular, and ground tissues. Highly specialized cells found in cones and flowers are also produced in meristems. Flower or cone development begins when the pattern of gene expression changes in a stem's apical meristem. These changes transform the apical meristem of a flowering plant into a floral meristem. Floral meristems produce the tissues of flowers, which include the plant's reproductive organs, as well as the colorful petals that surround them.